Okay, so what we're doing tonight, we've got these rods. They're all cleaned up, polished, looking good. I got the I guess it would be called the outer bearing or the race. It's pressed in there. And what I'm doing now is I'm using the hone and I'm fitting the bearings. What I'm trying to do here though, so basically you need 1 2/10 to 1.5 thousandths clearance in your bearings. So these are new bearings, and then new rollers, and a new pinion shaft. So when you press these in, you got to do a little bit of math, and when you press those in, it ends up being the bearings are too tight. So there's no tolerance, there's no clearance there. So what you got to do, you start out by miking your pinion shaft. This thing is dead on 1 inch. So I just make a note of that. So it's dead on 1 inch. So then the next thing you need to do is you need to measure all your bearings, especially if you're using used bearings, because they'll wear differently and so on and so forth. So these are all brand new bearings. They mic right at 250. So we'll just do a quick little. We'll show you guys. They're kind of hard to hold, but you can see there's 250, and it's a nice slip. Just a little bit of drag, but there. I don't know if you guys can read that, but that's right at 250. I've measured all of them. They're all right on. They're all spot on. They're very good quality. My bearings, races, and pinion shaft all came from Competition Distributing. They sell really nice, good quality stuff. So I always keep these little sleeves too, because you don't want to nick or scratch or anything your pinion shaft, because that'll cause all kinds of problems. So, so our rod, I haven't measured it yet, but our bearings equal out to 250.250, 1/4 inch. So there's 2 bearings. So how you do this, there's 2 bearings. 250 plus 250 equals, well, times 2 equals 1/2 inch, right? So with the pinion and the bearings, that's 1.5 inches. So we need to get this bearing opened up to 150 and 1/1000th to 1.5 thousandths. So I kind of shoot for the 1 2/10 of a thousandths clearance between these. This thing, we'll do a quick measure on it. I'm using these little snap gauges. You put them in there crooked when you first start doing these, but you'll get the hang of it. There's a little feel to it. But see, you'll see I put it in there crooked. It's completely crooked. Then tighten it down just a little bit, because you don't want to crank it down because it's got to move. And then you see how I just rocked it forward and then pull it straight out. So again, till it snaps, tighten it down, and then rock it on out of there. And you'll feel it just drag. You'll feel a drag in the bearing, so that's how you'll know you did it right. So there's our bearing diameter, and then you take your mics, and we're going to measure this bearing diameter. And looks like it's at 494. So 1.494. Okay. That's our diameter right now. We need to get that to that diameter. So how we're going to go about that is with the hone. And let me show you guys. So this is a rod hone. I've just got a little, it's an old Sun benchtop model that I got mounted to the table here. Super simple machines, but I'll set this up and let you guys see what I'm doing. Okay, so got this thing set up. My belt broke, so I don't have coolant at the moment. There really should be coolant, so I'm just doing it by hand. I'm using a little bit of cutting oil here since my coolant's down. So, but this thing, the way this thing works, it's got a pedal down here. It's got a little spring-operated jobby that when you push the pedal down, your tension's adjustable here. When you push the pedal down, you probably can't see this, but this stone actually expands outward. So I'll run this out so you can see it. So that stone expands in and out. So that's what is doing the grinding, is that one little stone here. The other side of the mandrel is just a wear plate. That's made out of zinc, I believe, is what this one is. So it just rides inside the bearing, while the opposite side, the stone, does all the cutting. So I just get this thing nice and clean. I'll wipe it off with a rag first. Get everything nice and clean. And then you just slide it on there. Let me keep running it down. I messed up all my tension there. So you just run it up on there. Normally you would turn it on and your oil would start flowing. That's what this jobby is. But like I said, my little leather belt broke, so I need to get another one. So now I'm just being real careful. I'm just making sure it's lubed up a bunch. But we'll flip her on, and you hold it. This is the rest. You just hold it in there. So this is real loose still. So I'm gonna just keep running it out till I can't. Okay, there. And right there is where this thing's real tight. Not real tight, but I mean it's tight. There's tension on it because it's pushing that stone. It's spreading it apart, pushing that stone out against the bearing surface, and that's what's doing all the work right now. So we'll just I've been keeping this little rag here so my fingers don't get super dirty since I'm doing this. Instead of having the automatic lube, let off the pedal and just keep. See, I got like a little over 6 thousandths to take out, so I got to take a good bit off of these bearings. So I'll work that side a little bit, and then I like to flip it over just to keep everything nice and square. Even though that's a new stone, and I use the little squaring tool, just to be sure everything's nice and even. So now clean that up, and we'll check and see how much we took off. Okay, we're back here. Here's a rod that we just cleaned up. And I did notice when I first started cutting on these that, because I've taken a couple thou off of these already, but just inside this bearings, it was actually on, it was on these edges. It wasn't hitting them. So the bearing was a little bit out around on the inside. So that's one of the reasons, even if you, because they offer smaller, like all different size bearings, so you can tailor this to this size instead of just cutting a bunch on that. Well, not a bunch, I mean, we're talking thousands here. So but my point being is that when I first put this thing together and I first ran it around on the hone, there was a couple spots where the hone wasn't hitting it. So that meant like the bearing was just a little bit out of shape. And now, I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but it's super pretty, super nice and polished now. So that's a brand new stone. So it should be, it's doing really well. And that's what we want. I mean, we're building a really high end. This thing's a 1929 Harley. Granted, there's a lot of tolerance on these things compared to what they are when they, back in the day when they built these things. I mean, they're tough ass motors. You could have this thing wallered out and it would still run. But we're building a race motor. We want this thing. We're holding it to much higher standards than they did back just Joe Schmo rebuilding this thing. But so we got it all cleaned up now. We're gonna use our snap gauge, and we'll see how much I took off there. Probably not a whole lot, because I only did it for a second, just because I'm showing you guys how to do this. Being real careful. So I use my snap gauge, and we're gonna just run it in there. See, I took off about 1.5 thousandths right there. So I mean, as you can see, it takes a while. It's not fast, which is good because you want to just sneak up on that. I mean, you're talking 1/2 thousandths once we get to a certain point. So you just want to sneak up on it. This is a stage where you really take your time. Don't get in a rush on this. Stay nice and clean. Keep your materials nice and clean, your workbench nice and clean. This is where, this is the stuff that matters. We're talking about really tight tolerances here. So, yep, take your time. Take your time and you'll have a much better product. But so I'm just going to keep working this, and that's all there is to it. You just take 1 thousandths at a time. It'll take me a little bit to get there, but so I'll fit this rod, and probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one up to 1 thousandths tolerance, and then the finish half I'm going to put the rods together, and then so it's all one unit, and I'll take that last 1/2 thousandths off by honing them all together. So it'd be like kind of like a line honing the two. So so when we go to put everything together, it's machined together, it's honed together, so everything will fit just absolutely perfect. So but yeah, these bearings, I guess I could have showed you guys that. These bearings drop in. They have these little races. Oh, not this one, but the center bearing takes longer bearings, which I guess I need to go get. I kind of showed you guys wrong there, but I'll go get those bearings. But I'm taking a lot of thousandths off of these, so that first little bit for a demonstration isn't going to matter whatsoever. So they were quite small as in you're talking 5 thousandths. So I think a human hair is like a couple thousandths. So you're talking about 2.5 human hairs to put it in perspective here. So all right, guys, I'm going to keep working away at this, and then I will show you the next round once we get to the next stage. But yep, thanks for joining.